Hello, and welcome to another episode of the AppleInsider Podcast. This is your host, Wes Hilliard, and we're brought to you today by our sponsors, Oracle, Masterclass, and Fast Growing Trees. I'm joined once again by William Gallagher. How you doing, William?
Oh, I'm really good. I am loving my Mac Studio and hiding away from the rest of the world. That's how I am. How are you?
Pretty good. I don't know if anything's happened this week. Our internet went out, so we just haven't seen the news or anything. Can you catch me up in 5 seconds or so?
Yeah, Doctor Who came back with some trailers for that thing, although full episodes, on Saturday. So I think that was it. I'm not sure what else you're thinking of. No?
I kid. It's been a busy week, but for mostly, I guess what you'd call political, financial sector reasons. We'll get into that in controversy corner, just because there's a lot and a little to get into. It's actually not that complicated, but we'll save that for that chapter. In the meantime, if you are listening here, there is an option for Apple Insider Plus, ad free, right? And you also get the bonus show at the end. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about maybe something a little more topical. Now, if this sounds similar to a previous topic, I promise it's ever so subtly different. We're going to be talking about pricing. When would a product cost too much? How do we do that calculus, or is it more of an instinct? Is it just when it kicks in, we see the price, we're like, ooh, that's too much, right? So we're going to be talking a little bit about when things are too much, the kind of expensive Apple things that we've bought and justified, and some of the ones that maybe we haven't, and get into that. And maybe William will reveal how much he would have paid for the blue Apple car. So getting right into it this week, we have a rumor about Apple Vision Pro 2, the successor to the headset I'm wearing. So, William, do you know about this?
Only that every time you hear a number 2, I auto-complete it as Apple Vision Pro 2. This time it's personal or something like that. Isn't it? It's going to be better, cheaper, faster, stronger, something like that. But it's always 2 years away or not, something like that. You can see I've not paid attention to this one. Is there any more strength in this rumor than all the others before it?
Well, the rumor itself is mostly, I would say, trash, just on premise, because it's built on the idea that they're beginning mass production now for shipping in spring of 2026. It doesn't.
So I wouldn't have thought that would make sense. I mean, they're doing it in huge volumes, but recently I've been hearing things about, was it the Home Hub or something, that they would start production at this point and it'd be out a year later and things. And I suppose if you're doing something at scale, but it doesn't sound
the
right.
Home Hub should have been out 6 different times in the last 6 months.
It's true.
And going ahead in the next 6 months. Like, it's supposed to have always been out. It's always actually coming. And the problem is Home Hub, Apple's expecting to sell 2 or 3 per household, right? So you need to make millions of these things. Vision Pro 2, probably a $3,000 price point, big savings. Going to sell 500,000 of those, maybe throughout the whole year of 2026, right? So it doesn't need that much of a run. You can get as many units as you're going to sell in a couple of months. So it seems unrealistic based on that. But timing wise, I will say, it's been what I've been saying since 2024. I remember when I first brought it up, Apple made the Apple Vision Pro announcement. It was releasing in February of 2024, and we were talking about it, and rumors were already talking about 2025, the thinner, lighter version, 2026 version 2, and I'm like, that timeline is way too accelerated, and people pushed back saying, no way, they're going to wait 2-3 years for a new product. I knew then, at the price, the technology we were talking about, there was no way it was going to be an annual or 18-month cycle.
Right.
So here we are, approaching 2 years, right? So by 2026, February, it'll be 2 years since the product release. That's when I think the earliest we should be hearing about Vision Pro 2. Now, I'm going to pitch you this timeline, and we can bookmark it, but I'm thinking maybe we could see a Vision Pro Basic and a Vision Pro 2 announcement where they're both announced at the same event. And then the lower end Vision Pro launches sometime in the spring, closer to April, May of 2026. And then they plan a summer or fall release for the Vision Pro 2, kind of rolling it out slowly as they ramp up production and promotion. I think that is a possible scenario. Cannibalization, no. The people who've bought Vision Pro have bought it, and by that point, the people who have bought Vision Pro are probably going to be looking for Vision Pro 2. I don't think they're going to cannibalize sales by pre-announcing this product. Now, by the time we get to Vision Pro 3, yes, I don't think this strategy would work, but this time I think a slow rollout would make sense.
But you see two lines here. What would the difference be between them? Yeah, because I mean, all the evidence, the iPhone has been in two lines forever, really. I just, where would the division be?
Well, 80% of this thing is technology, right? You're not going to be able to reduce price by removing technology, and Apple wants a baseline interaction. But Tim Cook's supply chain, we have to remember, very efficient. And I'm going to just put it out there. I think what Apple's going to do for the lightweight Vision Pro is going to sell the Vision Pro 1 hardware in a slightly redesigned, like smaller, like lighter package, basically. They're going to take away some of the metal and glass and keep all the sensors the same, right? So it'll still have the, what is it called? The R1 chipset that does reality rendering. So I think the baseline model will have the R1. The Vision Pro 2 would have an R2, so that would differentiate it. And then the baseline would have a newer M series chip, maybe the M4, and the Vision Pro 2 would have the M5 or M6. That's the differentiations. And then everything else would be the same internally for the base model one as the one I'm wearing now. They just can sell it cheaper because they've got a lot of supply chain inventory and shave it down to like $2,000, remove some of the heavy components, remove some of the extra things that are unnecessary for the operation, like eyesight.
What about, the important question, different colors?
How important are colors if you can't see them?
Yeah, but how important are different colors on an iPhone when you're going to chuck it in a case? So
fair. I mean,
like
the band is the headset band is the band. Yeah, you can accessorize it. And honestly, that wouldn't be a bad market. Apple, if you are selling a $2,000 headset, sell $500 headset bands that are different colors. Charge extra for the blue one. You'll make a lot of money, at least from William. Anyway,
I would think. Yes. Okay.
So I don't know. Timelines are always sketchy. I mean, I don't have any information. It was always just kind of a gut of 2 years plus makes sense. I could even see this taking till 2027. I don't see them launching a low-end device alone with no sight of a Vision Pro 2. It's either the Vision Pro 2 by itself or both, not just the low-end one. So that's my analysis here. We'll find out soon enough.
You are my go-to guy for the headset because you've got one and I haven't. But it keeps shocking me every time I realise how long it's been out. So you've now had it since day one, however long that is, more than a year. Are you hitting the limits of it? Are you finding any irritations now?
No. If anything, it's what you'd call friction is reducing because I'm just kind of getting into this routine. I remember Nilay Patel, maybe, of The Verge saying, I don't want to have to go through 15 steps to check my email by, putting on a headset and opening it and going through Optic ID and then finding the app and you're tapping around. It doesn't really feel like that. And apps open where they were. All the operating system stuff has gotten much better. I'm really excited for Vision OS 3. But, and he complained about his hair because he always wears very, combed, slicked back hair. He's like, I don't like the fact that if I have to check my email, I'm also going to have to check my hair afterwards. Because it's true. Because so maybe we all should go for these shaved sides look. So that way there's nothing to keep track of. As long as you're using the solo loop, of course.
This is actually, of course, the reason I haven't bought an Apple Vision Pro. Otherwise, I'd have been right there. £3,500. Yeah, that's what I spent on my Mac Studio. I've just made that connection. Okay, right. Okay,
Which is a
and I
more
wish I
useful
hadn't
computer.
now.
Yeah.
That's true. The Mac Studio is glorious. It's helped me out
Yes.
enormously in the last couple of weeks. So I think I made the right call there. But we'll see. The next time I try an Apple Vision Pro, I could be. I came so close to saying "suckered into it," but that's not right. Impressed into it. That's the phrase. Okay.
These are expensive computers, and I always have to kind of laugh at the conversation around Apple Vision Pro just being too much. I get it. It is too much as far as like your standard customer who's buying an iPhone and dabbling in an Apple Watch isn't going to look at this and say, "Oh yeah, I've got $3,500 laying around. Why not?" Yes, it is outpricing a large portion of the market, but I wouldn't say it's overpriced, and I expect that the supply chain will make the price lighter. It's just Apple. Their price is their brand. They're not just going to adjust their price mid-cycle. It will be when the next headset comes out that we might see some adjustments. Like the cheaper one, like I said, would probably hopefully hit the 2,000 range, even if it's $2,499. And then the more expensive one, I would assume, could hit 3,000. I mean, it's not going to see a big price reduction, but they'll make it back by just adding a 2 terabyte storage at $4,000, right? So
Yes.
it's how Apple plays this game. We'll get there. So speaking of things coming about, 2027, William? You wrote about this one?
Yes. Would this be the iPhone 20?
See,
No?
this is... yeah.
I lose count of the... So where are we now? I've got a 16... So 17 is 2025, 18 would be one of those. Oh, and unless Apple does that thing of skipping a number again, like it did with the iPhone 9 that never existed. The iPhone 20 is the one we're thinking about, though, isn't it?
Yes, so this is where it gets complicated, because I had to kind of do the math, too, when I saw this article. It's like, why are we talking about this? So... it's the iPhone 20th anniversary edition, right? Kind of like the iPhone 10, iPhone X that came out in 2017, the 10-year anniversary.
Yes. Yeah.
It all kind of lined up. Apple released an iPhone 10. It was the 10-year anniversary. They never made that connection directly, I don't think. But of course, everyone else in the world said, yeah, duh, it's their 10th anniversary phone. They did skip the number 9, which... I think was really funny because Windows also skipped the number 9, and now there's like this conspiracy that the number 9 would break computers or something, like Y2K kind of style stuff. So maybe we won't get an iOS 19 this year, William.
Right. We'll get iOS. I was trying to work out the Roman numerals for 19 and I can't do it. IXX or something. Yeah, one of those. Okay. But assuming that we get 19 now and 20 next year, you're thinking that the rumors are that there will be a massive redesign. I have trouble with that. The original claim I saw was that this will be like the iPhone 10, the X version of it, that it would be that huge. Because, I mean, back then, remember 2017, that's when it got rid of the home button and we had to relearn how to do things, and it was done extremely well, and everything's like that now, and so it should be. It's great. What could possibly be that big a change that they could do again for it? I mean, this could be yet again a failure of imagination on my part, but
Well, so first 19 is XIX, and what would be funny is I wonder if Apple would brand this the iPhone XX, the 1010 or 20, just because Roman numerals.
Yeah, but hang on, setting up a terrible precedent there for the iPhone 30. Would that be the iPhone XXX, which I feel would be misinterpreted? I should have rehearsed my Roman numerals before we started talking, shouldn't I?
So, whatever this is, it could be the 19, it could be the 20, but the idea is that the 20th anniversary iPhone, whatever number they decide to give it, or cat name, it could be the iPhone Fold generation, as well as a major redesign. And this is where it gets kind of silly, because right now we're working towards an iPhone with more metal than ever. It's going to have a metal rim that's titanium, and that then subset by aluminum on the inner edges, and then a layer of glass in the middle, right? So it's basically 3 different layers of material. And this is suggesting that we're going to go back to more glass for the 20th anniversary. So why go backwards and then forwards again? Because right now the whole back of the phone is glass. There's no reason to add the metal components, but apparently the iPhone 17 could have a inner rim of metal, aluminum, and then a glass panel where the MagSafe cutout is, right? So to go to metal and then back to glass, that's an odd choice. But they're suggesting the reason why we would go to more of a all glass iPhone is a goal, so that the Vision OS takeover of iOS would allow the iPhone to be more transparent, literally, and create this UI that would blend in with your attitude. Now, this isn't part of this rumor. I'm just feeding 5 different rumors together. So I don't know. I think this is maybe more of a stretch than an actual leak. This is someone guessing.
It's curious. I've often thought that you lean towards hardware, I lean towards software. My doubt about all this is that we have just heard these persistent rumours that iOS 19 will introduce a kind of glass-like look to it. Mm-hmm. And it just, if you are going to go glass, it seems weird to not do it all at the same time. So I found it a little unlikely, unless they're trying to, train us into liking glass. But yeah, I don't know.
Whatever they do, Apple doesn't do anniversaries. I mean, kind of. They say they don't, but then they'll have like a big update on the Steve Jobs website about things that happened 20 years ago. They have these little celebrations, but it's not like that they release like a hat or something.
The 20th anniversary Mac, for example. They haven't done that again, mostly because I think it came out in year, was it 21 or even just inching into 22 when they finally released it. I think that's where they decided, no, we're not going to do this. But yeah, you're right. There have been the odd presentations where they have paused to show. I remember the history of the PowerBook came up in a presentation once, for example. But you remember it because it was so rare for them to do anything like that at all.
Steve Jobs more or less programmed the company into we never look back. So I don't know. Well, the iPhone 10 is evidence that they do kind of have these milestone moments, and I remember Tim Cook and the designers talking about it as we wanted to show you like what an iPhone would look like. Like if I remember right, they said this is an iPhone that would come out 5 years from now.
Oh, no, actually, more than that. I remember the quote from Tim Cook saying this was set the technology for the next 10 years. And actually, as I say that to you, I realise the 10 years are up, pretty much, aren't they?
A year out, 2026, I think, right? I'm sorry, 27.
No,
so
27,
so
I'm wrong, but it's on the way. Yeah.
When the redesign comes, this alleged redesign, they would reach their 10-year mark. But I guess the question is, as always, what is the relevance of these products as we move more towards spatial computing? It's so funny that we were having similar conversations 5 years ago about the iPad trying to take over. Is the Mac going to even exist anymore because the iPad's getting so good? And then will we even need an iPhone? What if we have an all-consuming tablet device? And that edged away into where we are now, which is the ecosystem's back. Everything works with each other. We're not really trying to supersede one over the other. But Vision Pro and Vision OS is kind of creeping in and saying, but there is a potential future where a device with a limited display that is limited to the glass that you're looking at is going to be the past, and infinite displays that are shined into your eyes through a set of glasses or goggles that you wear is the potential future. I don't know how far away that future is, and it's definitely not 2027. We're not going to be there that fast. But it is funny to see how these devices evolve. I still don't think foldables are a real thing. I think it's a fad that just won't die because there are enough nerds with money out there that are buying them. But I just can't see Apple actually bothering unless they can literally erase the crease in the display.
Actually, I worked briefly with a woman who was, well, in case you're listening, I don't want to say her age because I could be totally wrong. She was certainly above 60, and she had a folding Samsung phone that she really liked. It was the first time I'd seen one in the wild, and self-confessed not techie. So
Yeah, I've
yeah,
noticed that's kind of a trend. It definitely feels like, here's a concept. You know how like we talked about this before in the show. Actually, it was one of our Apple Insider Plus segments. Like the envisioning of the future from the point of view of the '60s, right? Giving us the Jetsons, and the Jetsons were set in like 2025 or something stupid. And then we have like Blade Runner set in 2019, and all these ideas trying to conceptualize the future. I think foldable phones are kind of like that. They're our idea of what's futuristic from the point of view of old technology. We can't see what the future is beyond what if we have a foldable display. What we can't see is what the real breakthrough is going to be in the next 5 years. And what is actually going to change about smartphones that is actually significant, and it isn't foldable tech. That's, I think, where people are trying to guess at what the future is, and foldables is not it. It may be a stepping stone to it, but it is not it. So it's interesting this iPhone 20 rumor included the foldables. Look, listeners, we heard about foldables, I believe, in 2018 from Ming-Chi Kuo, and they were due. Apple was due to have an iPhone Fold by this 2019, and that year has moved forward every year. So, is it coming? I don't know.
I'm still counting. I'm betting on 2019. I could see a few problems, but I'm rooting for it. Would Ming-Chi Kuo lie to us? So there you go.
So speaking of future devices, because we could talk about iPhones all day. Honestly, the idea that we're already talking about not even the 18 anymore. That's old news. Not even the 19. We're talking about the iPhone 20, and it's just so silly to me. I mean, tomorrow we're going to get a leak about the iPhone 21.
The thing I would love, actually, is that, we're talking about this, but Apple is as well. It's just their discussions will end up in an actual physical item. I would love some documentation of the process from absolutely nothing to the final shipping product. I mean, how many hundreds of people, all that work, all that effort, it'd just be a fantastic read. You would hope that Apple would do that for the 20th anniversary phone, if they would ever do it at all. But
so, William, just on this topic of the future, the smartphone, right? I believe we've been talking about its demise since its introduction as a society. Of any time now, someone's going to invent a smart pen or a watch or a bracelet or a ankle monitor that will replace this display that we're all enslaved to. Do you think it could actually go away, or is this just kind of a forever product like a kitchen sink or something?
I'm astounded to say that at the moment I think, yes, it could go away. But for a very particular reason that 4 or 5 times now I have left my office without my phone, and all because I'm using standby and I've got it on the desk as a clock for it. So in my head, it's a clock and I don't need it, and I walk away.
Do you? We're getting really existential here, but it's on my mind. My biggest hang up on this, because I'm interested in the idea. What if everything could be done from your wrist? What if a set of glasses that you could talk to, and it gave you little messages and snippets, right? Like, what if you walked up to a slate and your glasses displayed images on it, right? Like, and you kind of displaced the phone entirely out of your life, and that's by 2030. It's within our close enough lifetime. I would miss the camera. My phone is so much in a camera, but I wonder, William, if cameras are going to go the way of the record player, and people are going to be like, "Oh, that's so quaint. You take photos." Right.
I just had to point out you couldn't care less about the phone part of your phone by the sound of it. So we've already lost a major part of that.
Well, yeah. I mean, who makes phone calls? But I guess the question is, will we still be taking photos, or will we just all be recording our lives 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and then just ask an AI in our head, say, hey, you know that thing I was looking at earlier, make it into a photo. You know what I mean? Like, will actual photography be reduced to an art form that people pursue only because they want to pursue photography, and it will lose its interest as a casual endeavor because of the cameras that we have in our pockets, because everything around us is constantly recording and the novelty of having a photo is now dead? So moving on.
Yeah. So, yeah, on that bombshell, I know I must be wrong about this because you are using a headset right now and you're very happy with it, but somehow the idea of stepping into that world, of putting on a headset instead of reaching for a tool to do a job that I want to do, there's that division there. I find the furniture around the job is a barrier for me. I actually had not thought of that thing you said about the 15 steps to check your email, but yeah, that is there. Whereas a glance at my iPhone screen does the job, and it will change, but it's a barrier for me. Yeah.
I was reading an excerpt on Blue Sky Post earlier, and forgive me because I doubt I'll be able to find the name very quickly, but I'm going to scroll while I speak because I remember the anecdote at least. So basically the idea, this was written by, I don't know, again, this was just in an article of some kind, but the person saying, I needed to buy an envelope. And he gets up and tells his wife, I'm going to go buy an envelope. And she says, why don't you just order a box of them, put them in the closet, and then you'll have all the envelopes you'll ever need, and they'll ship it straight to your door. And he said, no, I think I'm going to go buy an envelope. So he gets up and walks to the store, pets a dog, gives a thumbs up to the fire truck going by, and, just has this whole adventure going to the store to buy an envelope, and then realizes that in the act of just doing that, he got to be a person for a while, moving around, and that humanity was meant to dance, humanity was meant to move, and maybe replacing computers for every single task is kind of a slow destruction of our own humanity. So, I just found that a very interesting anecdote. Yeah.
Welcome to the deep episode of Apple Insider Plus. Yes, that's quite a sobering thought, particularly because I'm, as well as Apple Insider, I work for a couple of charities, and by chance, what I do is I produce magazines for them, and by weird chance, both the latest issues of both charities magazines had to be done this week. So as well as Apple Insider, I've been doing long hours before and after the shift here. And then I had to be part of a meeting. And in the meeting, all the people were talking about how great the sunshine had been all day. And I had not looked out of the window in 14 hours. So I'm feeling sympathy towards this attitude of getting out there. Yes. This episode is brought to you by Oracle. There's a growing expense eating into your company's profits. It's your cloud computing bill. You may have had a deal to start with, but now the spend is sky high and increasing every year. What if you could cut your cloud bill in half and improve performance at the same time? Well, if you act by May 31st, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure can help you do just that. OCI is the next generation cloud designed for every workload, where you can run any application, including any AI projects, faster and more securely for less. In fact, Oracle has a special promotion where you can cut your cloud bill in half when you switch to OCI. The savings are real. On average, OCI costs 50% less for compute, 70% less for storage, and 80% less for networking. Join Modal, Skydance Animation, and today's innovative AI tech companies who upgraded to OCI and saved. Offer only for new US customers with a minimum financial commitment. See if you qualify for half off at oracle.com/AppleInsider. That's oracle.com/AppleInsider. And thanks to Oracle for supporting the Apple Insider podcast.
So anyway, moving on to the next topic. If I find that name, I will say it because I think that was just a fun anecdote. But so we have a rumor about the Home Hub. I believe this came out as we recorded last week, or as we published. so it's a little bit of an older topic, but the Home Hub may have been delayed to 2026 to wait on the delayed personalized Apple Intelligence and Siri improvements.
Right, I feel like there must have been a segment in a previous episode that covered a practically identical rumor, and we could just clip that into this bit. Is it just this one? This seemed to be one of those rumors that loops around every now and again. We'll keep doing so. Probably.
It really depends on who you're asking, because I believe Ming-Chi Kuo last said, and hasn't changed, fall of 2026, 5 for that device, right? And then, and this is Mark Gurman, I believe. Before we move too far from it, I did find it. Kurt Vonnegut is the name of the person who wrote this.
Oh, grief. I thought this was somebody on, Blue Sky or something, but Twitter, a social media person. But you mean an actual writer with quite a substantial history?
An actual writer.
Okay. I'm suddenly wondering, is he still alive? But okay, I will look that up later. Okay.
I'm sorry the name escaped me because it feels like a name I should be able to just blurt out. But anyway, Apple's Home Hub, yes, Kurt Vonnegut said stuff about envelopes and computers. Go give that a look. Okay. But so Apple's Home Hub being pushed back. This is an odd one for me, William, because it was said, I had to do some thinking. It was said in this piece that the Home Hub delay is about Apple Intelligence, but the first Home Hub will not support Apple Intelligence. So what's going on here? Why delay a product that isn't even going to support it at launch? Do you have any idea what could be happening here?
Yes, but I'm not going to tell you because you should work it out for yourself. No, I haven't one thin clue how that could be.
I had to work it out to if it only makes sense because right now the sentiment around Siri is so bad that if Apple releases another product that is built around Siri as a concept, like another HomePod, if Apple released the HomePod 3 today, people would just be like, it doesn't even know what day it is. It doesn't know who won the Super Bowl. I am not buying this thing. It's garbage. So until Apple can give the public some inkling that they are quote-unquote fixing Siri and release an update that actually makes a difference to the user that feels tangible, then releasing a new product that is built around that assistant is untenable. No, like it would be a failure at launch just in the eyes of the public, no matter how good it was.
That makes sense. I mean, Siri's often been derided. I just think at the moment, it for some reason is demonstrably worse than ever. So I'm still using it. I'm still cursing it every now and again. So
I mean, I'm still what you'd call a Siri unicorn. Like I don't really have an issue with it. The things I need it to do still do it. Now one day that could break, but so far the very simple things that I need it to do are enough. I don't need it to do more than that, and I hate it for the people who do because it's awful when things don't work the way you expect. But anyway, pushing this back to 2026, fine. But again, the timeline's just odd. In my brainstorming, I thought about it. I have a fix, William, for Apple's Apple Intelligence problem.
By Android. Is that where your mind's going?
No, because their AI sucks too. The problem it's not that Apple's intelligence necessarily is this god-awful thing. Yes, I know. Image Playground, yeah, haha. It's that the entire concept of the technology is flawed. As I've said many times, I wrote a whole piece about everyone's a loser in the Apple intelligence race, right? I stand by that. AI is bad. So Apple should just treat it that way. On the surface, say, hey, it's going to get things wrong. We have this much confidence in it, and they said internally 80%, which is a really good number, actually. So we have 80% confidence in it, but, check your work. But you know what would be great if I didn't have to check it manually by opening every app that it checked? Give me the information in the output. That's it. Do the personalized contextual Siri and just show where you got the information from in the output with touchable links. Like make a little bento box of icons with, we got this from messages. Now see, in the original demo of this feature, the only one that we've ever actually seen operating, Siri does pop down with an answer with a link out to the thing. When does my mom arrive at the airport? It shows information about when she arrives, but also at the bottom of the prompt, it shows an email icon with a link to the email. So they already had this in works. So just take it a step further. Don't just show the email icon, show every point of contact. So here's the email icon, here's the messages icon, here's your notes, here's your calendar, and show actual snippets, not AI generated text, but use the app intent system to create widget style previews, little, like, here's a calendar view, a literal, not just AI generated nonsense, but we used app intents. This is possible with app intents. We took an internal screenshot of what it would look like if you opened the app yourself and went to that window and created a square screenshot of that image. This is what it would look like. We made that and just showed it to you here in the response. That's how you solve this. Provide the summary that is AI generated, and then give the real data below. And then you don't have to have it be 100% accurate. Just ship it. And then we don't have to worry about all this nonsense, because it is working internally. They clearly had something. They just pulled it back because it wasn't accurate enough.
I don't think people would accept inaccurate answers, even if underneath it there was the source.
Fair.
For it.
Well, then give up on AI, because it's never going to be 100% accurate. Those are their options. Pursuing this perfection. I know Apple is about perfection. It's impossible. Even OpenAI, the leader in this space, even Google Gemini, they come with a constant declaration of, we get things wrong. It is in every piece of anything you can look at. No matter where you're looking in those apps, there's a bit of black text somewhere saying, check your work, because we can get things wrong. And so either the nerds using it accept that, and they do. All the people promoting the artificial intelligence stuff are like, yeah, but it's worth it because you get all these cool things. Okay. And then if the general public won't accept that, then who are you trying to appease? Are you trying to appease the nerds using the AI, which is still relatively small population? Yes, I get it. ChatGPT has all these users. They're getting all these monthly users. It's all increasing so rapidly. It's people signing up for an account and trying things. I wonder how many people are actually actively using it and getting a benefit out of it, rather than some novelty creating because I guarantee all those signups in the 4.0 update was just to make a Ghibli image so they could post it to their social media, right? How many people are actually using this stuff and getting anything out of it? Apple should be pursuing one or the other. You're not going to get perfection. So as long as you're pursuing it and saying that you are, and not releasing things because you can't make it perfect, you're always going to be wrong. You're always going to be the bad guy.
This episode is brought to you by Masterclass, the online learning platform that I've been using to learn new things, but also to just enjoy the absolutely fascinating company of people I admire across writing, art, and technology. Now, I'm not going to say that I've been using Masterclass wrong, but I did learn something extra this week. Up to now, I've been watching Masterclass on my Apple TV 4K in my living room. I mean, sometimes, quite studiously, but sometimes just relaxing and absorbing it all. But this week, I wanted to carry on watching a Masterclass by Diane Warren. I'm a writer, she's a legend, and I did it at my Mac. And it turns out that not only is it's precisely as easy to watch on the Mac and pick up exactly where you left off as it is on the TV, but on the Mac, in a browser, Masterclass, well, it brings you these hours of video, but right next to them, right next to all of them, there is a place to make your notes. Up to now, I've been scribbling away in Apple Notes, in drafts, once or twice in emails that I've then lost. But now here you go. There it is, your notes right next to the Masterclass session that they refer to. So I've often gone back to rewatch things, but now I can do that and see just which bit I'm trying to find, just which bit is on my mind because of my notes, which is handy because there is so much. Diane Warren is just my latest obsession on Masterclass. But I mean, before now, James Cameron has taken me through technology. I'm even more of a Jodie Foster fan now. I've seen her talk about being a director, working with writers, and I'm just starting to get into some more kind of therapy-like masterclasses. Yeah, I could go on, but well, I'll tell you what, instead, you go on. Go on to Masterclass yourself, especially now, actually, because right now, our listeners get an additional 15% off any annual membership at masterclass.com/AppleInsider15. That's 15% off at masterclass.com/AppleInsider15. So masterclass is one word, .com, I think you've heard that before, / and Apple Insider digit 1, digit 5. Masterclass.com/AppleInsider15. And thanks to Masterclass, well, for the hours I've had with it, but also for supporting the Apple Insider podcast.
And that brings us to Amazon, who just announced, sorry, none of this works, actually. We're not going to release it. Didn't I call it, William? The minute they announced it on stage, I said...
They've Amazon... No, you're making this up. Or was this on an early date in the month that they said this? Shall we put it that way?
I'll have to pull it up. But what they've said, apparently, is not all the features are ready, and we're going to have to release it in waves. And the first wave is basically ordering an Uber and something to do with displays, like summarizing or something. They pulled back almost every feature and said it is not meeting our standards, our high standards at Amazon, and we're going to have to release this slowly over time, which is exactly what I said would happen. I mean, come on, guys.
But that's why I thought you were joking. I missed this completely. I'm quite shocked.
I heard it through a random small podcast. And I was like, they were in the middle of talking about, like, oh yeah, and Amazon delayed their thing. And I'm like, what? When did this, who talked about this?
Oh, do you think the news was buried under other things that might have been occupying people and the headlines a bit more? I see your point. Okay. This is what I really am quite taken aback by that, even though you predicted it. I was going to say, the other day I asked Siri when the dates of the Birmingham Literature Festival, and it couldn't do it, of course. So it asked me, did I want to have a look at ChatGPT? And I said, go on then, why not? Good luck. And ChatGPT came back after quite some thundering away with the wrong date. So I tried perplexity.ai, and it came back with different wrong dates. None of these were saying there's a chance of being wrong, and it was purely a date. So in the end, I went to the Birmingham Literature Festival website itself and did it, which is really what I should have done at the start. But if you can't even trust dates from these things, you say that there are always notifications, and I don't believe there were here, but I think it's at least highly possible that I'm so used to seeing them that I'm not seeing them anymore. And that is what's going to happen with everything. If it's always there, it might as well not ever be there. And we're not going to get Apple giving up on AI, so there is no happy solution.
I found some web results. I can show them if you ask again from your iPhone.
Okay, right.
Special guest Siri on the podcast.
Yeah, I used to be clever at this, and well, I thought I was clever, and say about "Hey Iris" for things. But then you could actually change the name, and I did to Iris for a bit, and it just got silly. But okay, I've absorbed the Amazon news. Have they given any kind of timescale for when these waves are allegedly coming out?
Okay, well, I'm trying to dig up some sources, but it appears that the initial report was all the way back, basically a week after the announcement in February. They said something along the lines of Alexa's AI upgrade is being pushed back because of incorrect answers, and it won't come until after March 31st. Well, we're now after March 31st, and I'm hearing from people, and I'm seeing online reports of, I still don't have the update. And I would have to dig around and find an actual mention, but maybe this is one of those internal rumor things, and there isn't an actual announcement yet. Sorry, I only mentioned this in passing because it reminded me of something while we were talking about the Home Hub. So I apologize for that. So you guys listening can look this up yourself, but it has basically been pushed back, and the features are going to be rolling out much more slowly than initially expected. It was initially announced as we're going to release it in early March and roll all the features out through March. It was going to take a month to release everything, but it was all going to roll out. We're now in mid-April, and nothing has happened. So I don't know. So I'll have to do more investigation on that. I can bring it back to the show if anything surfaces. But again, the double standard is always so fun on this reporting. Apple announced a delay of a feature that because they were worried about accuracy, and it was all the headlines were for a week. So just kind of funny. Last thing before we get to other news, iOS 19 redesign rumors. More on that.
Yeah, people seem to be disagreeing again about this, and that's where the glass information I mentioned earlier surfaced from, but I couldn't tell you whether that was somebody saying it will be glass or somebody else saying that it won't be glass. I seem to be really off-kilter this week. Are you more on top of this one as well as the Amazon stuff?
Yeah, I wrote this one. So basically, John Prosser came back. So this is a whole saga. In January, I guess Prosser allegedly got a hold of an iOS 19 build or something, and he's seen iOS 19. He and his render artist made a render of the camera app and released it. And then I guess in February, Mark Gurman put out a report saying iOS 19 is expecting to get a Vision OS redesign. And then John Prosser and John Gruber both said, duh, Prosser said that in January. And so then Prosser's like, well, I'm going to one-up him. I'm going to just show you. He said in text that a redesign's coming. I'm going to show you the redesign. So he made this whole video showcasing what he called a limited redesign. He says it's not as extensive as you thought. It's just a glassy cover over certain buttons. The home screen icons are the same. And then Mark Gurman posts in response on social media saying, these are not representative of iOS 19. Either this is old information or he has someone who is not describing it fully. So Prosser, of course, being Prosser, came back and said, oh, well, thanks for the hint, Gurman. We obviously missed something. So they apparently dug for more. I did air quotes. No one can see them. Dug for more and found that there was actually even more information. And then they got a hold of a new leak or something. And they got all this new information and made a whole new video. Well, let me tell you, William, are you ready to have your mind blown?
I stand ready. Yes, okay.
Yeah, nothing really is different. So they went in all of this hullabaloo and this whole 15-minute video, and he just showed the same, like, yeah, these are glassy icons, but I made the assumption, because he didn't show any animation before, they just showed the glassy icon. I said, yeah, clearly that's a light reflection that's going to animate when you move your phone, which is something he brought up in the new video. He's like, and we figured out there's a light animation when you move your phone. And then he showed more pill icons, more glassy things. And then so sure, he got a hold of a few new design elements. The search bar changed in iMessage. Great. Nothing really spectacular. Nothing promoting this major iOS 7 level redesign that Gurman keeps talking about. And then he gets to, and the home screen icons. Now, William, the home screen icon, as you learned, is called a squircle, right? It has a specific corner radius. Apple has used that corner radius since the original squircle was released on the iPhone. Apple is apparently going to completely upend their iconic brand iconography, I guess, and change it to not a circle, not a squircle, but a more circular squircle.
Okay, this is just becoming a stream of syllables now, but
yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to remember, actually, there is a story from the old days of Apple where I'm pretty sure it was Steve Jobs who was asking for what they were calling round recs then, squares with rounded edges. And whoever it was that was supposed to be programming this was saying, well, why would anybody want this stuff? And Jobs, or whoever it was, took this person, reasonably sure it was a man, out of the building and said, look, there and here. And it was like street furniture, road signs, everything. Round recs were used everywhere. And chastened, the guy goes back in and adopts it for Apple's software ever afterwards. So, yeah, I can well see Apple abandoning round recs for less recky round recs after all this time. Yeah.
Yeah, they're more, so like squircles were more squares than circles, and now they're more circles than squares. So we're just moving and like just increasing the corner radius, basically.
Oh, how long before they're roundels? Like in Doctor Who. Okay. I'd go for that. I'd go for that. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm on.
So here's where it gets weird. Looking at this image of the home screen. So he said he found this because it seemed that the build that they got was a demo build that was meant to disguise itself in public, so that when you're looking at the home screen, all the icons look normal. But he says when they tap into the icons, they change into the new icon, which is this, and that's how they discovered it, basically. These new icons look, there's what's the initial thing that I don't like is they look smaller. It's actually making less use of the screen real estate on the iPhone, which is actually it's a step backwards in my opinion. They also look like Android icons that ship on the Samsung Galaxy. Samsung has long shipped more rounded rectangles than Apple's. They're very similar to squircles, but they're rounder. These obviously also have the light reflection on the edge, which probably move. But unless they intend on increasing the screen density and letting you have more icons, or increasing the size of these icons to make them take up more space, this feels backwards to me in a lot of ways. And before anyone said, Android also has circle icons, and they use that on Apple Watch and Apple Vision Pro. This is not those devices. This is an iPhone. If Apple looked like Android on an iPhone, that's a big difference. Apple Watch has its own unique design, right? So getting away from that, I don't know.
So I'm just wondering, do smaller icons mean more of them on the home screen?
That's what I'm saying. Unless they make use of the space somehow. But then can we revert to the old icon style? And will designers have to create multiple types of icons? Shaving off the edges breaks some icon design. I don't know what this is, if this is true. This is all, of course, giving processors the benefit of the doubt. This could just be a different build, a branch that it is never going to be. And to continue the saga, of course, I was looking at Gurman's social media to make sure he didn't respond. He didn't. Actually, what he did was he just retweeted the initial post saying, this is not representative. It looks like old information, and it is not representative of the full redesign expected for iOS 19. Which is, I just thought was a slick move there. So burn on processor again. I don't know. This is so odd. It's not, again, the second video almost wasn't warranted. There just wasn't that much more new information. We'll just see what happens. June is not that far away, so.
I think these two guys should phone each other in the morning. That would sort it out. Yeah, okay.
Prosser has invited Gurman multiple times to his podcast, and he keeps saying it won't line up. And what's really funny about that is the last time he refused was when Gurman was actively visiting other podcasts and promoting himself on other networks, and then still rejected Prosser. Anyway, the whole thing's crazy. Prosser is... I know he bet his whole identity before on flat-sided Apple Watch and all of that, and that kind of ruined his reputation. This really is going to seal the deal. If iOS 19 and iPhone 17 do not look the ways that his recent leaks have, how do you come back from that?
Well, my thing with him is not... I'd actually forgotten the watch stuff. It's just 15 minutes to show us nothing. And
it's his presentation
his style of humour is, let's just say, different.
He knows
to
his audience.
Anything I find funny. Yes, yeah, I'm certain he does. And that's impressive. And he gives exactly what people want. It just doesn't happen to be what I want. So he's kind of leaves my head, regardless of what he's saying.
If I was between the ages of 14 and 23 and really interested in Apple technology and played a lot of Call of Duty, I would probably be obsessed with John Prosser.
Okay.
Right? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, he knows his audience. He knows who likes him and and who watches him. So he leads into it.
I am only fractionally older than that, though. So, 23 in a few months, that's me. But yes, he's not aiming at me. I do see that. Yeah. This episode is brought to you by Fast Growing Trees, the biggest garden nursery in the US with thousands of different plants and over 2 million happy customers. Now, hopefully you can't hear this, but as I talk to you right now, there are 3 workmen up a tree in our garden cutting it down. Because in the recent wind, huge branches of it fell off and they came within a pixel of hitting our house, and they did destroy a fence. I mean, actually, it was so big. The tiniest more breath of wind would have sent it through a second fence on the other side of our neighbour's property. So, regretfully, that tree has to go, but when it has, we are going to be left with a quite stunningly large gap in our garden. So, if I were in the States, I would be going to Fast Growing Trees to look through their catalogue of thousands of plants. Now, as I'm not, I'm in England, I am instead going to Fast Growing Trees to at least look through their catalogue and learn from them about what they say about which plants work best in which climates. I mean, admittedly, England, I'm going to have to concentrate on ones that cope with rain and wind now. But you do you. You go to Fast Growing Trees to see what works for you and your garden. And when you order from their thousands of plants, they'll be delivered to your door in just a few days. This spring, they have the best deals too for your yard, for everywhere, up to half off on select plants and other deals. And listeners to our show get 15% off their first purchase when using the code AppleInsider at checkout. That's an additional 15% off at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code AppleInsider at checkout. Fastgrowingtrees.com, code AppleInsider. Now is the perfect time to plant. Use Apple Insider to save today. Offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions may apply. And thank you to Fast Growing Trees for supporting the Apple Insider podcast.
So as we round up the show, look at us being under an hour this week. I want to talk about some stuff going on in the world, but of course, close your ears. If you don't like this segment, you can skip it. Lovely chapters. We will close up the show at the end with some podcast reviews as usual. So don't close out the show. There's still stuff after Controversy Corner, which we are now in. Fair warning given.
I've got to say, though, I'm just amused that you make that comment that we're under an hour, and then we're starting this. Okay, so the episode 3 hours later. Okay.
Previously
on tariffs. No.
Well, so before we get to tariffs, because I don't have to re-explain it, we explained it last week's episode. Go listen to that.
True.
TikTok just wanted to make a comment. They did delay it, which was, I guess, I was wondering if a deal would materialize, but maybe that was just too optimistic. They gave it another 75-day extension, but it didn't cross my mind in the last episode. But a lot's happened since then. They've really upset China in the last few days. Like, this isn't even controversial. It's like, I'm going to list what has happened. These are real things that have happened, and I'm going to say it. This is nonpartisan. This is just things that happened. Okay. Trump listed Taiwan as a country. That the U.S. has never acknowledged Taiwan as a country, and doing so violates the one China rule or whatever.
Oh, it does. But sorry, no, wait a minute. There's even more ramifications there, because one of TSMC's problems is that it was getting double taxed by America and taxed by China, because America didn't recognize Taiwan as a country and so didn't have a tax arrangements with it. I wonder if there's somebody at TSMC thinking, yes, finally, now we're officially recognized.
But yet they're not.
Yeah. Okay. Of course not.
Yeah. That would require some level of. Anyway, not going to say that. So second of all, J.D. Vance called Chinese workers peasants. You can't. Yeah, you don't want to do that. China really does not like being called a third world country. They don't want to be associated with feudal times or what American movies have portrayed them as these stereotypes. And calling them peasants, they're very, very mad about that. And J.D. Vance, the vice president. And then the trade war has escalated from 54. So it was 7% in January to 14% after Trump took over, to 54% to 104% to now 125%. And you know what? Tomorrow, let's do 400%. Right? Like, this is just, it's a tit for tat. The leader of China, Xi Jinping, basically said, we'll fight to the end. We don't care. Keep raising them. We'll keep raising them. It doesn't matter. We don't need you. So this is an infinite war. And this brings us to, by the way, Skylight is apparently doing great. It grew to 150,000 users within a couple of days as of April 4th. They haven't revealed new user numbers. I think they're waiting for 1 million before they do. But they are growing. They're doing great. cute app. They're adding new features all the time. If you want somewhere to go, because TikTok probably won't get sold now, and will absolutely now get banned because it will be a casualty in the trade war. Yeah. Hopefully everyone moves over to the growing platform Skylight. Moving on, tariffs. So we talked last week briefly. Tariffs happened. Stocks were moving. Bad all around. The stock market essentially crashed. Thousands of points on the S&P 500. It was really bad news for Apple. They became a $2 trillion company again. A lot of crazy, like, we lost a year. Now, I know people are like, oh, it's only a year of gains. That's not how the stock market works. It's a very slow grow. Losing a year of gains is, in a normal situation without the tariffs, would be tantamount to the company closing, right? Like, something bad is wrong. Anyway, things rebounded and then went back and then forth and then back and then forth. We don't need to get into all the details. We're including all this in the show notes. We have written 50 articles on this stuff because things keep changing. The reason why it's so wild right now is Apple's supply chain. We talk about it all the time. Tim Cook. Predictability is so important in business. And knowing how much something's going to cost when you order it and how much it's going to cost when it's delivered is also important. So Apple could be making component orders today that will cost 20% more tomorrow and 50% more when it's delivered in July. That kind of uncertainty, companies out there, smaller companies that don't have billions of dollars, could place an order for say you're a company making journals, and the journals are assembled in China and then shipped to the United States. And you place an order for 100,000 journals, and they won't arrive until July. Well, now the journals that you just paid, I don't know, let's just throw out a random solid number, $500,000 for, now cost $1.4 million, right? Whatever the math is on that. So that level, like, and that company just went bankrupt, right? They just liquefied themselves because of tariffs and the unpredictability. Now, in this time that this has all happened, Donald Trump reversed course, which he said he wasn't going to do. And people keep quoting The Art of the Deal, which is really funny because, like, page one.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't write it, but the person who did write it wrote that when you make an offer, you never back down, because when you do, you failed. So he went against his own rules and failed, and has pulled back on his tariffs.
I think I didn't appreciate that kind of shocked me about this. Your example there, the orders coming through. I read a thing, it's Americans, I can't remember what companies, but a small businesswoman talking about the fact that she'd ordered a certain amount of items from China, but she'd already sold half of them. So there's no way she could even raise the price on those, if she could raise them on any of them. And you could just feel the fear for her future.
Entire industries had to basically shut down and go on pause until this is all resolved. What's happened since last week, everyone paying attention, hopefully is maybe even paying attention. So again, we don't have to get into the detail, but he called it a pause. It's not a pause. That's, again, just like they weren't reciprocal tariffs, this isn't a pause. What he's done is he took the incredibly extreme tariffs of 30 to 40% and lowered them all to 10%.
Right.
And so 10%, I don't know if everyone remembers, was the worst case scenario before all of this started. Economists were like, yeah, when Trump raises tariffs, worst case scenario is 10%, and that would add $2,500 a year to every American household, right? So now we are in worst case scenario territory for the rest of the world, but that's excluding China, because China is now at 125%, which is catastrophic for the American sector, for American consumers, which basically he reweighed the scales, right? So before 30 to 40% on everything, and then 10% on everything else, and then 50% on China. This is essentially the same amount of damage. He just moved the numbers around. He moved the pain around, and we are still back to the same amount of pain. So Apple's not out of the doghouse yet. We could essentially still end up with $2,000 to $3,000 iPhones in the fall. And this is only a 90-day reprieve that could bounce back worse, because then we would have a increasing like 150, 160% tariff on China and 40% tariffs on everything else on the planet. Apple's trying to get around this by shipping everything to India and then shipping everything to the United States, to basically get as many phones into the United States now as humanly possible. They're also going to maybe eat a little into their margins. They're also considering not changing the prices of their base models, but increasing prices of their higher storage tiers. And all of this basically to the consumer would reflect as a $3 per month price increase. So Apple has the ability to disguise and limit the damage to consumers, but not every company does. But we're here to talk about Apple. So beyond the catastrophe that these tariffs are, Apple should theoretically come out okay.
So you're saying that about we talk about Apple, not other companies, but also then, $3 a month or whatever doesn't sound too awful, but this is for people who all of their prices have gone up. There's a mathematician who worked through that ridiculous formula and showed why it was ridiculous and the weird mistakes in it. Yeah, but following its logic and following the White House own data, it is unquestionable that under the original tariffs, every American family, the cost of living would be 10.25% higher per year on average under it. So people we think of Apple, but people are going to be having to pay everything more for everything. So Apple will become more of a luxury, more of a less necessary purchase. So
the stock market dropping so much created kind of a panic at the White House, and you could see it in the 15 True Social posts that he made the morning before he backed off of his tariffs and tried to undo everything, which undoing everything still created a lot of damage. And the stock market rallied because it's like, yay, less pain. But then they realized today, as we record, we're still in incredible pain. And then the stock market started diving again. So, hooray.
I've got to tell you this. I did see this incredible headline somewhere that Apple had their best day ever. No, sorry, their best day since 1996 because of the rise of it. I'm thinking that's a really weird way to look at something that is still, even then, was still so much lower. But
Donald Trump is calling the 3,000 point S&P 500 point raise the best in history, which is not true. It's the best since 2008, but he's calling it the best in history, and he's celebrating it, even though it's like walking into a room and turning the lights off and then turning the lights on and telling everyone, look, I made light, and celebrating that the lights are now on, right? Like, I don't know. There's been so many good examples. Someone said that it's like playing peekaboo and believing that your mother actually disappeared. Anyway, away from that, there is one more piece of this, and we can close up. He did say briefly, he was talking to some formula racers that are coming for the Daytona 500. So the usual, for some reason, the press, they just ask him questions about anything, anywhere. So it doesn't matter what he's doing; they're just asking about this stuff. So he was outside next to a race car, but they asked him, "So are you considering now exemptions?" Which, again, Liberation Day. Go watch the video. He said, "No exemptions. Period. Zero. I will never back down on tariffs. I will never back down on this. These are forever." Well, then, less than a week later, he backed off the tariffs. And guess what? He's backing off the exemption rule. And he said that he is going to consider exemptions for the companies hit hardest by the tariffs. That is unfair to those companies. And they asked, how are you going to determine who is hit hardest? He says, it's going to be based on instinct. So.
Okay.
And Apple... it's fun. This is always fun. So, but instinctually or not, or factually, who cares? Apple was definitely hit probably the hardest out of all American companies by these tariffs. So maybe there won't even be a question about exemptions. And maybe the Nintendo Switch won't cost $700. But that's an aside. William, we can close up controversy corner. There's so much going on. We don't need to get into it. We have written ad nauseum about it, and all of it will be wrong and distant past by the time this podcast publishes, and everything will have changed. And this will be also wrong because Donald Trump will announce 5,000% tariffs on the moon or something. So we'll see how it goes, and we'll be back next week to get into it more. But for now, we can close up the show.
Which means it's time, because you promised there'd be more to come after this. Nothing to do with Controversy Corner. There'll be nothing remotely controversial, and I don't know what's left to say. Lift my spirits, please.
Well, Apple Watch could look a lot like Vision OS, according to another rumor. I wanted to finish up here. So we were talking about iOS 19 getting some glassy stuff. Well, I don't know if you've been listening to the show, but I've been basically repeating this is an ecosystem-wide redesign. So this is no secret, but we finally have someone specifically saying, and this is from a source that's, I think, had one leak before that was wrong, the verifier, but they're saying the obvious here. Some icons might have some glassy elements. Some menu items might get some Vision OS-y things. Great. Not a lot to really discuss there other than, yeah, this is probably true. But they did throw in a curveball, which is Apple Intelligence coming to Apple Watch, starting with Apple Watch Ultra and then a year later to the regular Apple Watch. First of all, no. Unless Apple releases a small model that can run on 1 gig of RAM or even maybe 2 gigs of RAM, not happening. Yes, I do know that AI models are scalable, but the way it exists today, no. And again, what use would it be? They said Genmoji, summarized notifications. My guess is this is half correct. The iPhone's going to handle generating the emojis, and then they'll show up in the emoji picker. They'll handle parsing the notifications, and then the notifications on the Apple Watch will be summarized. I don't think it's going to be more complicated than that. And maybe in the future, if Apple releases smaller models, more could come to on-device processing on Apple Watch. But burning your battery to do essentially nothing useful, because the Apple Watch has such a small battery and it would require so much processing power, I can't see it being a feasible, usable option, at least not anytime soon. No.
But happier Apple Watch news. I don't know how long this has been around, but I this week found the new Unity watch face. Is it called Unity something? Unity Rhythm. And it's absolutely mesmerising. So there you go. I'm happy. I asked you to lift my spirits, and I lifted them instead. But there we go. Same thing.
Oh, Apple Intelligence could generate new watch faces. There you go.
Right. Okay. Roller coaster of watch faces here. I'm actually all right that Apple doesn't allow other watch faces. It'd be nice if they did, but I'm not that fussed because you know some of them would be rubbish. But AI would get it right, wouldn't it?
Yeah. They would add extra hands.
But yes, exactly. Okay.
All right. That's my joke for the show. Good night. Let's... Yeah, so we're back to the very, very end. So very much on podcast reviews. So guys, of course, you can always reach me on Blue Sky, email, wes@appleinsider.com. Just find me on the internet. You can talk to me, tell me about the show, what you like, what you don't like, make suggestions for Apple Insider Plus, or even topics we can discuss on the show. We're always happy to hear from our listeners. And this week, we've got several really great reviews on the Apple Podcast app. First, from Limpio Muebles, I'm guessing that's how you say that. My favorite podcast. These guys are very chill and good chemistry. So 5 stars. Thanks for the review. Very straightforward. RR1152. Great podcast. 5 stars. Very informative. Like the way you describe politics that affect Apple. The only suggestion is William's voice sounds muffled and distorted. So always fun to get feedback. Our audio stuff is back and forth. We try different things.
Yes, last week actually I was kidnapped, held to ransom, and I had a kind of scarf over my face. But I paid; it sorted it out. Although I'm glad I did then because the price went up this week, didn't it? But yeah.
So Long Shot 888 left a 5-star review. I listen every week, and he really likes William. He says, great podcast. William Gallagher's incredibly dry humor and sarcasm feeds my soul. Check out his YouTube channel, 58 Keys. His wisdom and humorous take offers a great balance with his co-host, offering a lovely and often funny combination.
Well, that was money well spent. Thank you very much for that. It's okay.
Yeah, of course, William paying for our 5-star reviews with our infinite pot of gold.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and finally, we have a 1-star review. Sarka rules. There we go. Unfollow used to be good. Now it's become super annoying. AI is a fad. Sample of what we say. AI is a fad. Apple being anti-competitive is fine. And Orange Man bad. Okay, well, that's your review. So, as always with these, we take you guys into account. Happy to see so many positive reviews this week. Keep them coming. Happy to check them out on the show as I find them. Don't worry if I don't mention you this week and you've just left a review. It's because I gather these on Wednesday and we record on Thursday and we publish Friday. So sometimes it's a week later before I see them. But William, where can people find you to leave you more kind words?
Actually, William at AppleInsider.com, email straight to me. That's the best. But you just heard to mention 58 Keys. The 58 Keys empire is expanding on YouTube. There are now 3 videos a week, which might not be of any interest at all, but they're for writers. So I'm a writer. I lurk around there. But email if you want to talk to me directly. That'd be good. I love email. So.
Yeah, I need to check my junk drawer more often. I discover some in there every now and then, and I'm like, why are you in here? But once again, thanks for listening, guys, and thank you to our sponsors, Oracle, Masterclass, and Fast Growing Trees. And if you didn't hear any ads, it's because you're an Apple Insider Plus subscriber, and we're about to get into that bonus show. This week, we're going to talk about pricing. It's topical. We're going to talk about, how much is too much? If prices did go up on a product that we really wanted, when would we stop being interested? Or are we just going to sell a kidney to get that thing no matter what? So we'll get into it in the after show. And once again, thanks for listening, and we will talk to you next week.